This is going to seem like the most parts, but I promise you it's the easiest. The only thing to remember here is keep the steps in order. Keep the steps in order. You can do a pretty bad job at everything else I'm about to show you and still do well as long as you keep things in order. This requires far less skill than what we've talked about before. Far less thought, right? It's just pretty robotic. So far, let's talk about what we've done. We've grabbed attention, we've made a promise, we've backed the promise up, we've connected to the audience, and you've told your story, right? A lot of people do that. Salespeople do this all the friggin' time. They get this part right because it's the hardest part, right? And then what do they not do? Close. They don't ask for the sale, right? And that's the difference between a really great salesperson and a really bad salesperson. Totally the difference, right? You can actually be pretty bad at the first part and ask for sales more often than the other guy. You're going to beat him. You can take somebody who's much more skilled, much more articulate, right, and still beat them just by saying, hey, dude, you buy that? I used to have a guy work for me, Ken Caudell, is my favorite people in the world. He was a hardcore sales guy. And we sold together at a car dealership and then at a bunch of other stuff a long time ago, but at a computer store. And I had all these young guys selling computers. And he would always stand over in the corner. These guys are just talking until they're blue in the face. And Ken's going, hey, boss, let me go button that up. Let me go button that up. Let me go button that up. And he would get so frustrated. He's like, all these young college kids were working for me, University of Indiana, and he'd say, hey, kid, Jimmy, yeah, your mom's on the phone. I think she's sick or something. Really? Yeah, she's right here. And he'd go over to get the phone. Ken would go close his sale. And the kid would come back and says, there wasn't anybody there. And he's like, he just loved to close them up, and he was a great closer. So we're going to talk about that next. So it's time to make your offer. You've done all your homework. You've done the part nobody else does, right? A lot of people, I always say that making your offer prematurely is very much like asking a girl for sex that you met in a bar 1 minute ago, right? You haven't established yourself. You haven't shown attraction. You haven't shown a promise. You haven't shown any authority. You haven't told a story. There's no acquaintanceship. There's no time that's passed. But now you've done all that homework. So let's make an offer. Can we down the lights real quick? This is almost purely for entertainment. It is kind of fun, though.
Mr. Barnum, I can't just run off and join
The greatest offer maker ever.
Let's just say that I find it much more comfortable admiring your show from afar.
Comfort, the enemy of progress.
Do you understand that just associating with you could cost me...
Comfort is the enemy of progress.
It could cost you more than that. You'd be risking everything. But on the other hand, right here, right now, I put the offer out. I don't wanna cheat you down. I know you see it. You run with me, and I can cut you free. Out of the treachery, the walls you keep in. So trade that typical for something colorful. And if it's crazy, live a little crazy. You can play it sensible, a king of conventional, or you can risk it all and see. Don't you wanna get away from the strain? Oh, part you gotta play, 'cause I got what you need. So come with me and take the ride. It'll take you to the other side, 'cause you can do like you do, or you can do like me. Stay in the cage, or you finally take the key. Oh, damn, finally you're free to fly. It'll take you to the
it's intriguing, but to go would cost me greatly. So what percentage?
So they negotiate now, right? So if you haven't seen that movie, Greatest Showman, it's like maybe the greatest movie ever. Really, really good. But the point is, there's a couple of lessons to be learned there. All that's just entertainment, right? Barnum was the greatest offer maker ever in the history of offer makers. He was the greatest, right? But notice, you remember what he told the guy he was going to be doing in the job? He didn't tell him. Remember how much money he told him he was going to make? He didn't. He talked about breaking through, coming over the other side, being free, right? Right? You should play that in one of your things. Yeah. So, but really, Derek and I had this conversation last night about how freedom is the new currency. It's not make $1 million in 20 minutes or whatever. It's do what fulfills you, what makes you happy, and supplies your needs. Right? That's their mindset right now. So, but I thought this was an interesting clip to play because it is so true. Carl White's our good friend who's a War Room member, and genius, by the way. Really like the guy. He's a big old redneck boy in Harley shirts that you just look at and go, really, that guy? Yeah, the answer is yeah, really, that guy. He's amazing. But he always says that an offer, to him, when he crafts an offer, he imagines his prospect on one island, and on the other island is what they want or need, right? And he's just building a bridge and selling a ticket, right? So I think when you're talking about come over to the other side, I think that's real for people. You know, I'm using the phraseology right now a lot about breaking a cycle. That's working well for me in pitches. It's like, hey, you've been doing the same thing forever. You go to work so you can come home, so you can make money to buy a house, so you can go to work, pay for it, come home, make money, buy a house, tired, sleep, cycle, 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 and the cycle continues. At some point, you're going to break or the cycle's going to break. Which one's it going to be? This is your choice, right? So that's what an offer is. So we're at that portion. So this is what I think is the hardest part for people. It's so weird, especially stage speakers. Jason Flavely, and I'm going to give him credit for this because it stumped me for life. I've known Jason forever, but I went to one of his classes not long ago, which, by the way, was excellent. If you get a chance to go see him do his thing on webinars, it's fantastic. But he talked about the transition. I've always sucked at transition. I think a lot of people do. You go up, you do your headline, you make your promise, you tell your story, and then you're all stuttering and selling from your heels, right? From stage, for sure, it'll kill you, right? But even in video sales letters and other sales letters, the transition, I think, is the hardest part. And he made it so effing easy. So here it is. Recap. Recap the offer, right? So hey, by now, here, let's talk about this. By now, you know there's a solution, right? You know about me, you know about the people, you know about yada, 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 right? You're going to recap. We're going to talk about how you recap, what you recap in a second. But you want to recap what they've learned, right? Then you ask 6 yes questions. It's called a yes ladder. You offer them a 3-choice close. And then you offer your help, right? The 3-choice pivot, rather, and then help. So the recap. So how do you recap? Remind them of the pain. So for instance, say, hey guys, you just told the story about how you met your perfect Mongolian wife, right? And how you're so happy with your little Mongolian kids. We won't call them what they would be. That's freaking awful. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. All right, sometimes my mind just goes there without, like, the hands off the steering wheel. It's like Jesus take the wheel, but the opposite. All right. So remind them of the pain. Say, hey, gosh damn, man, dude, I know you're lonely, right? But I know you don't want to put your head back in the lion's mouth of some psycho-American chick, right? So here's your chance. But now you know there's new hope. You know, you've probably given up. A lot of our guys have just given up. But you know what? You don't have to give up because now there's hope, right? So far, you've learned this, and this. You've learned these lessons, right? You could have the life you want. You could have the girl you want. You could have the family you want. Future cast that out. Right? Pardon? DER, DER. A desired end result. Future cast the desired end result. You could have all those things. You bullet them, right? So I hope that you really will pay attention. I hope that you'll grasp this opportunity. I'd like to ask you 6 questions before we move on. Are you happy being alone? Do you miss the companionship of somebody else? These should be questions that are all 100% for sure yeses. I forget in your sales letter what they were, but they were there. If you read the sales letter to come here, there are 6 questions. You know, do you want to sell more stuff, right? Was probably one of them. You ask the most basic question first. Would you like to sell more stuff? Would you like to not have to go through the pain of hiring more copywriters? Would you like to be able to sit down and knock out a sales piece in a few hours? Would you like all those things? So these are all things you know they're going to answer yes to. They're just reading the question mentally going yes, yes, yes. Right here, what you're hoping for is this, that they're sitting there physically nodding their head, right? Keep it very simple. It's called a yes ladder. So you build up the little more difficult questions at the end. And then you do the 3-pivot choice, the 2-choice pivot. And this was the one I could never get. And this is where Jason, I think, just nailed it for me and brought it home. So after you get the 6 answers to they're all yes questions, you just say, well, it seems like you can say it however you want to say it, but you can say, if you're like I was, you're probably at a crossroads right now. And there are really only 3 choices. You can't unknow what you learned today. You can't. It's going to eat you away from the inside. So you can either A, do nothing about it. I think you know what the result of that will be. Or you can do the same things you've been doing, right? And expect a different result, which, by the way, is the definition of insanity. So what are those things you've been doing? You can go out to bars to try to meet girls. You can try to do online dating. So what you want to do here is list out all the obvious answers because you want to squash them one at a time. Just draw lines through them. Physically in print, I would do strike through. You can go to bars. You can get referrals from your friends. You can go to church on Sunday and try to scam the church system into meeting nice girls like Mark Anthony Bates does. You can, I'm just messing with you. Mark's never been to church. I'm not going to mess with anybody about church. But this is where you kind of destruct all the other options. You're whittling away every other option they have. You can go to your local camera shop, see if somebody will stop for 5 minutes in their busy day and try to show you something. You can hire a photographer, but hey, they're in the business. They're in the business of taking pictures for you. They don't want to teach anything. Nobody wants to teach anything. Why would they want to? You're just competition. You can read more books. You can go to more websites. You can you can go on YouTube and get all the free advice you want from YouTube. And guess what? It's going to be worth every penny you pay for it. See what I mean? So just whittle away every other option they have. Or, you know what you can do? You can try something radically different. You can replace those things with something new. See, a replacement offer doesn't always have to be a thing. It can be just the approach. You follow? Your approach to the problem could be different. It doesn't have to be a new product. Just be an approach to the problem. This is important, so I want to make sure everybody gets. These are pretty simple, but does everybody get that? Yeah, well, one thing would be like P90X, right? Right? Hey, look, you're not in your best shape, right? Like you, big fat ass, obviously. You're not in good shape, right? So, now that there's a different solution, right? So you can do nothing. You can do the same things you've been doing, probably like eating right and going to the gym, but who wants to do that? Or you can replace it with my brand new calisthenics program. It's going to turn you into a six-pack ab guy in 20 minutes, right? Whatever the case may be, that this is where it's important that in the beginning, your approach be very different. Because in the bottom, you're going to need to come back to that and point out again why your approach is really different. Like in your case, you can watch YouTube videos, you can try to learn, you can do all that, or you can submerge guess how this would be a good close for you. So the fastest way to learn French Go live in France. So guess what? This is a, God damn it. Is Amanda in here? Where in the hell is she at? Somebody needs to write, will you jot a note for me, please, to write down this close? Because this is a good transition close for membership. So the easiest way to learn a foreign language is to submerge yourself in it. It's to go to France. Now, you can hire one guy to teach you how to take pictures, but you're going to get one person's perspective, right? How would you like to be in a community full of people just like you who have already been there, done that? Some experts, some beginners, some in between, along with our trusted staff acting as Sherpas to show you the way up the mountain. Right? See, there's a radically different approach. That's how you just took membership and made it a radically different approach. Does that make sense? Yeah. Right? I could use that for any membership that we have. We could do it with War Room. You could tell people that, look, you know, you've been doing this on your own. You've been learning here and there. You've been reading all the books you can get, but there's no interactivity to that. How would you like just to be in a room of 160 multimillionaires 4 times a year and figure out how they got there, right? What do you think is going to be a faster approach? What do you think is going to be more dense? What do you think is going to be more rich? It's submersive, right? It's submersive. God damn, it's good. That's really good. All right, cool. You like that, Cole? Yep. Yeah, I think the submersive part of a membership, if you're selling a membership program, because membership programs are kind of hard to sell. You know, so you, if you can sell it as a submersive experience, because there's one of those things, what if this is true, then this must be true also, right? Everybody knows it's hard to learn a foreign language. You probably always heard it's hard to speak French, right? You probably also heard that it's easy if you just go live in France. Probably what you don't know is that's true with almost anything you do. So if you approach this differently, being submersed in a community of people that are into this thing, you're more likely to learn it. What's your conversion rate on webinar right now?
26%.
Yeah, he didn't know shit. All right, go ahead.
But no, I was just going to say we've been doing something similar like that as a value stack, you know, just for price anchoring. And like you said, yeah, you can go try and find someone, but the problem is go and try it. No one wants to give you the time of day. And if they do, it's about $500 an hour.
Yeah, right?
Or you could do this, and don't worry, it's not going to cost blank or blank or blank.
Right.
And walk them down that way too.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. Okay, so so the last thing's to offer help. So this is a modified close. This is mine. This is not anybody's, but this is mine. I modified this from the Dan Sullivan question, trying to move the Dan Sullivan question onto online sales, right? It's a little clunky. If you don't know the Dan Sullivan question, who sells something on the phone or in person? Few people, right? Okay. So if you're selling on the phone or in person, the Dan Sullivan close is an amazing close. You know, basically all you do is you get the person on the phone and you say, before we get started with the discussion today, I'd like to ask you a few questions just to kind of set the framework. Is that okay? Yeah, sure. You ask permission. By the way, this is going to be the whole conversation. There isn't going to be anything else. So it allows you to get permission to take control of the conversation. The first question is, so, you know, Derek, I'd like for you to do me a favor. Can you imagine? I want you to imagine for just a minute that's a year from today, and we're chatting, right? By the way, your closers and events. So by the way, it's a year from now, and we're chatting, and you're saying, you know, meeting Perry in Las Vegas that day really changed my life. It really changed everything. It seems like everything turned around right then. I've been getting everything I want. Life is just about the way I want it, and I'm so excited about the future. You got me? Describe to me what that looks like. Right? So now, you have them tell you what success looks like to them. Now, I have a little twist in there that Sullivan doesn't put in. So at the end of that, when they tell me, I say, well, Derek, congratulations. You just passed my first test. That was kind of sneaky, but I tell you, that was sort of a test. Because a lot of my clients that I work with, they can't describe that to me. And if they can't describe what they're hoping to accomplish, I know that I'm going to fail delivering that to them. But you've passed that test. Congratulations. Let me ask you another question. Now they're all, woo, woo, right? So let me ask you another question. You know what you want. right? Why do you think you've not been able to get it up to this point? Right? Listen to their answers. Hopefully, they're internal answers. If they're not, if they're external answers, well, you know, I was trying to, but I went to that Tony Robbins thing and he screwed me over. And then I went to that Derek Gill thing. He just took my money. He screwed me over. And then I hired Laura Betterly to do a bunch of work for me, and she screwed me over, right? Right? The thing to do right then, honestly, is to tell them thank you and goodbye. It really is. Because if they're bashing other people out, they're going to bash you out next. If they're making excuses. So I'll say, Derek, I'll be honest with you. I did it to you again, buddy. I promise I won't anymore, but you passed my second test. Because you took responsibility. You said, hey, I've been too busy. I've had too much to do with my work. My family's growing. You understand. You didn't blame it on a bunch of other people. Because I know if you blame the lack of success on other people, I'll just be the next guy you blame, and I don't want to work with people like that. You know, I know you understand. I only want to work with self-actuated, 2% of people that are really going to move forward and do things for themselves. And you sound like one of them. So thanks a lot. But I'm going to ask you any more quiz questions. There are no more tests, I promise. You're fine. Yeah. You blow them off without what?
Without him going ahead and saying, yeah, I talked to that fucking Perry and he wouldn't take me because he sucks.
Oh, you know what? I'll tell you how I do it.
I'm just curious how you
I do have
I have my way.
I do have a nice guy way of doing it.
Yeah.
A lot of times people come to me want to go join War Room. And they'll say, well, I want to join War Room, but I'm only doing $100,000 a year. I only do $200,000 a year. And the way I do it, say, you know, honestly, right now you're not a good fit for War Room, but I'll tell you what, here's my text, here's my cell phone number, here's my email. If you ever want me to review anything.
Just don't answer.
No, I do. But if you ever want me to help you with anything, if you want me to review anything for you or anything to help you along till you get there, I'm glad to do it. They rarely ever do.
Right. Okay.
Another way to do it is to give them a qualifier. Say, hey, I'm glad to help you. I don't think you're ready for my services because I think I'm going to be too pricey for what you do.
That's usually what I say.
Too pricey for what you do. But I'm glad to help you. So why don't you do this? Why don't you write up a 3 to 5 page business plan and send it to me? And I'll review it. I'll review it, and I'll call you back and give you my advice and what I would do.
Right.
That way, you'll never have to hear from them ever again.
Yeah.
All right.
In fact, they'll avoid you at events.
That's actually the way to get the monkey off your back, though, and not be an asshole. Yeah. Or you can just be an asshole and say, hey, I don't think this is a good fit. But it's probably better to do it the other way. Or you can be like me on a phone call with Merrill Lynch bankers one night. I told the guy that he had the stupidest fucking idea I'd ever heard, and I couldn't waste any more time with him because I had a pizza coming. Thinking I was talking to a consultant it wasn't Merrill Lynch, it was what? Dean Witter? Goldman Sachs. I thought I'm talking to the consultant that was cock blocking a deal with Goldman Sachs. Actually, I was talking to the guy from Goldman Sachs. And I told him that he had the dumbest fucking idea I'd ever heard in my life, and I didn't have time to fuck with people like him. I had to get a pizza. With Roland on the phone. And then I left the call. Because, hey, drop the mic, baby. If you're going to do it, do it. Don't bullshit an answer, you know. You got to follow through. It's like, yeah, why don't you put up with your shit and you slam the door to your house just when you realize you don't have your keys. Never a good idea. You're going to fight with your wife, make sure your keys are in your pocket before you start the fight. Just a little tip from your Uncle Perry. Yeah.
I was wondering if you ever deal with self-doubt, like
No.
clients say, you know, you can do this, but I can't.
I don't have any female clients. I don't. I'm messing with you. No, I don't really, and I'll tell you why I don't. I use this close. We close $250,000 deals with this close. We close $500 deals, $7,000 a month deals. And I used to say, I won't buy something unless, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. I approach it that way now with my clients. Unless they're a hell yes and all into me, to me it's a no. And I just take it as a no and I move on. Because I just think that convincing them to really cross the line, once you've made your presentation, you told your story, you've expressed your facts, trying to convince somebody that they're a good idea, I got you, Laura, be right there, that you're a good idea when they because they have self-doubt or because they don't trust you or because whatever, it just always comes back to be a pain in my ass. So I would just as soon they piss off and go away. You know, I got in a lot of trouble. I got in a lot of legal trouble. I tell people about it a lot. 11 years ago, I almost went to jail. I lost everything I had in the world. I've got bad press about me online. You can go read all of it you want. And I used to be wigged about it for 3 years. It drove me crazy. I mean, fucked me up, right, in my head. It really fucked me up. Now, I'm grateful for it because it's a filter that runs off pains in my ass, right? I'm glad for it because somebody told me once, the people who mind don't matter and the people that matter don't mind. And I've never forgotten that. Yeah.
To answer your question, I think you should say what he's talking about, the sales process, everything he's talking about is already going to bring you down to their level, right? So when I do events, you know, you're self-deprecating, he's the redneck. I mean, you're like he said earlier, it's like, oh shit, if Perry can do this, anybody can do this, right? And that's, so when you get there, that shouldn't even be an obstacle.
It's usually not if you're done it that way. And you know, if I said anything, I would say something snarky and smart-ass like, you know, you miss 100% of the balls you don't swing at. So it's up to you. I used to have in one of my sales letters, at the bottom of the sales letter, I love this copy. I don't use it anymore. Ryan freaked out, thought it was too harsh. But at the bottom of the copy, I had, at the end of the thing, said, hey, look, if you're not into my thing, I understand it. This is not for everything. It's like my daddy always said, the world needs ditch diggers too, son. Just go on and do whatever it is in life you want to do. Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing.
But you shame somebody into it. I think any of that, shaming somebody into it,
It's
talking
not
them
a good
into
idea,
it, it's a bad
especially if
idea.
you're in a service-based business.
Yeah.
If that's somebody you got to deal with on a day-to-day
Oh.
basis, they will kill you. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just might as well get a gun and shoot yourself together because it's the 80-20 rule. That's going to be that guy. It takes 80% of your time and doesn't pay you for it. So you say goodbye now because you're going to fire him anyway.
Yeah, that's it. That's really it.
The other thing too with this is that the higher price product that you put out there, and this is probably nothing new to fellow war roomers, but for people who are out there, the higher price product you put out there, the less the pain in the ass threshold you have. And
It's
we
definitely
sold a
inverse.
we sold a $65,000. AJ can back me up on this. $65,000 coaching product.
Stand up, Sal.
We sold a $65,000 coaching product with tools that we learned in here. Guy did one deal with us, never called us again. We can't get him on the phone. We can't call him. But the people who paid like if we discount it or if it's like a $39 a month membership, they think they're entitled to everything.
Yeah.
It's unfucking believable. Unbelievable. It really is.
So offer your help. So, let me finish the Dan Sullivan quiz. So the Sullivan close is, that's your second part of the Sullivan close is what's been keeping you from it. So great. So let me recap. So Alex, what you really want is this, this, and this, right? And you say, yeah. Okay, but what's been keeping you from getting it, you're pretty clear on, is that, and that, right? Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you another question. And I'm almost done. What resources, tools, experience, or skills do you have that we can use to help overcome those objections, to overcome those challenges and complete your goals? Well, I'm a pretty good copywriter and I got a lot of extra time and I can work extra at work. My brother-in-law's a congressman and whatever the case may be, they're going to spout some stuff off. And what they're getting from that question is hope. They're starting, hey, I never thought about asking Jimmy. I never thought about me being a pretty good writer. I never thought about this or that. So they're starting to build their own hope. You said almost nothing, by the way, in this whole pitch. They've talked the whole time. And then finally you just say, okay, so man, Jimmy, that's great. That's good news. So let me recap real quick and then we'll go into whatever you want to talk about. So one, ideally you really want this, this, and this. Secondarily, the only reason you hadn't got that is because of that, that, and that. But you got all these resources that we should be able to leverage pretty good along with what I got in my team and help you overcome those obstacles and get to those goals you want. Sound about right? Yeah. I just got one more question. You want some help? That's all you have to do in person. They'll say, yes. You're the first person that's listened to their stuff and ever. You say, okay, let me connect you to Mary really quick. She'll get you taken care of. We'll book another call as soon as you're off the phone with her. Maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Sound good? Let's get started. I like to get started right away. About you? You okay with getting started right away? Yeah. Done. That's how you close 20, 30 grand in one call on a phone call or in person. But if you can move more of that system over to print, it really helps you, right? So I think in that transition, you offer help. You know what you want. You know how to get it now. You know what's been holding you back. You know you have the ability. Do you want some help? Right? All right. We good?